Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Now, I'm not normally one to rant about things or be negative or anything like that, but I can't help myself today, and I find myself recording this video extremely disappointed. Just recently, we got the Where Are Those Droidekas update, and obviously a lot of the community has been waiting for Droidekas for the longest time. Like, we wanted them since launch, we've finally got them almost 2 years later, and well, they're kind of underwhelming, and I'm not really happy about it. Like I said, I'm not one to normally be negative, but I feel like this needs to be discussed. There are multiple issues with the Droideka that I have, and I will go into detail with that in just a minute. But if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and turn all notifications on, because that does help out a lot, and it would be a massive favor to me. But with that out of the way, let's get into all the problems. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a few positives as well, and I will touch on those in just a minute, but let's talk about the negatives. The first thing that I found that playing the Droideka I had issues with was that they transform way too slow in and out of the destroyer mode. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with the destroyer mode, that is essentially when you're just in a roly-poly ball rolling around. This is really fun, it's great, and I kind of love just rolling around. But in saying that, when you come out of this animation and into an attack mode, you're kind of exposed for like a really long time. This transformation is extremely slow, it's clunky, and once you're transformed out of it, you cannot move again for another second, and you can't really move side to side or forwards. And I know the Droidekas are always like kind of slow, they kind of crab walk, but at the same time, you know, if you pull up on an enemy and you come out of this roll mode, you just get melted because you can't move. And you know, yes, you have the bubble shield, but again, this is another problem. The shield doesn't really absorb all that much. You know, it's kind of weak and it gets taken out very, very quickly. Like, if you roll up on more than one enemy, you're most likely gonna die, because the shield, yeah, it can hold off maybe one enemy while you kill them, but the second one is more than likely going to get you. Now, this is the problem. The Droideka is meant to be a close range unit. You know, it's meant to be strong in close quarters, and it's just kind of not. You know, it's powerful, yeah, at close range. It's fine damage wise, but these lack of movements and problems that it's having with coming out of the transformation just leaves you exposed for way too long, and then the lack of health on the shield ends up in you getting melted regardless. So that's kind of the first problem. I think transforming out of the animation to attack someone is quite slow, and then transforming back into it is quite slow as well. Like, if you end up with a hero on you that has a lightsaber, you have no escape, literally no escape. Like, the transformation takes too long that by the time a hero is anywhere near you, they've got one strike on you and you pretty much can't really get away at that point. So no escape from lightsaber heroes is a second problem that I found with the Droidekas. Another problem was there's a little bit of a delay to the sprint. So kind of, you want it to be very reactive. When you hit L1 or whatever the button is for your console or PC, the left button on Xbox, it's supposed to transform you into the wheel. You know, you go into your roly-poly mode, but it's kind of slow. Again, this is the problem with the animation. I want it to be, you know, maybe you bounce up in the air and it activates straight away. You know, something like that would be extremely cool. And if it just happened as soon as you hit the button and maybe gave you a little boost to start off and you started rolling straight away without having to press forward on your joystick, you know what I mean? You know, it's very clunky, it's very slow, and it's hard to transform, and that leaves you exposed a lot of the time. So I think that needs to be fixed as well. If they could make it smoother and quicker to get into that transformation, I definitely think it would be a big help. The other thing that I thought could possibly help the Droideka be a little bit more, you know, powerful or a little bit better on the Battlefront is, you know, while you're rolling, while you're in wheel mode, give it a little bit of damage or at least a knockdown effect or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is an ability to roll around the Battlefront, and while you have it out, you can't do anything else but roll. So whether you give it like even 25 damage, like a tiny amount of damage and a knockdown effect, or, you know, on infantry, maybe give them a knockdown and no damage and then just don't knock down heroes or something like that. I just think it needs that little bit more for that ability to be viable. I get it, it's cool, you get to roll around, and part of me just wants to go round and round and round in circles because, you know, it's really fun, and I did it on stream for a little while just now. But I don't think it's where it needs to be, and I think that ability needs a little bit of tweaking just to be right. The next change that I would kind of make to the Droideka, being a close range unit, you're going to be in close quarters, and the Droideka has 0 to no movement when you have the ability to fire. So coming with the overload ability, I would suggest maybe some damage reduction. I know we have that with a lot of the heroes and stuff now, but I think some damage reduction for the Droideka just to make up for their lack of movement. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just can't get out of there. And I think, you know, I get it, the Death Trooper and the Wookiee, they can't really move either when they're in overload, but the thing is, they have the ability to turn off their overload and quickly roll out of the way, which gives them a lot more movement than what the Droideka would have. With the Droideka, you turn off this ability, and by the time you've transformed into your wheel mode to roll away, you're probably going to be dead anyway. So I think that's another thing that could be changed. Maybe a little bit of damage reduction with overload, and then carry it into the transformation, possibly, potentially. I don't know, it's maybe something they'd have to test, but I think it's something that could work. And the last change that I would kind of make for the Droideka, and you know, the issue that a lot of people I was talking to have had, you know, I've been in a couple of streams already and they've all said the same thing. The shield needs to deploy faster out of destroyer mode. Once you're rolling around the battlefront, you know, if you hit that R1 ability to deploy the shield, you should stop on a dime immediately and that shield should pop up. You know, it kind of takes a half a second to a second for the shield to actually pop, and by then an enemy's probably heard or at least seen you coming, and you know, they're going to be shooting you already. So you're already taking damage to start with. Then it takes an extra half second to a full second to get the shield up, and by the time you actually get the shield up, you're probably going to die. You know, they're going to wipe it out really quickly because they're already firing at you. By then, once you actually wind up your shots, yeah, you might kill the first guy, but if there's anyone else in the vicinity, you're probably going to go down. So I think maybe making this shield deploy a lot faster out of the roll mode, the destroyer mode, would be a definite positive change. So those are kind of some of the things that I thought about and spoke to a few people about, and they all definitely agreed with me that they could help for multiplayer. You know, I was talking to Sammy Boy before. He said that he thought the Droidekas were good, but he'd only played them in arcade. Once he jumped into multiplayer and I had mentioned these problems that I was having with the Droidekas, he 100% agreed with me and said, holy cow, like this stuff needs to be sorted and needs to be changed. So, you know, it's not just me saying this. I have other YouTubers that agree and a lot of people in the chat that agree as well, but these changes would definitely be better for the Droideka. Now, like I said before, there are some positives to the Droideka. You know, they look fantastic. The render that they've done on these are spot on. Absolutely looks perfect. Rolling around on the battlefront is the funnest thing to do. I find myself just rolling around and around and around in a circle just because it's fun. And, you know, doing that across the battlefront, you know, jumping off Geonosis, you know, off the ledges and things, it's really awesome. And they've done a good job with the rolling mechanic. The sounds are great. You know, the rolling sound, the walking sound, the firing sound. I think they've done a really good job with that in the game as well. And while we're talking about the rolling, jumping is absolutely hilarious. Hearing that little pa-ting and like watching the Droideka bounce up in the air, that's a really cool touch as well. So those things are all really positive about the Droideka, but it just doesn't really outweigh the negative right now. And like I said, I'm not normally one to be negative, but when you've looked forward to something for so long, you know, you didn't know if it was coming, then it finally gets announced that it's coming, and then you wait all that time for it to be finished developed, and then you get it and it's disappointing. You know, that's something that I think requires a negative video. And I'm not always going to be negative, you know, 90% of the time, 95% of the time I'm normally positive, but you know, it's that little 5% where I think, you know, if there's something that I definitely think needs changing and multiple people agree with me, I think it's worth making a video on. So why don't you guys let me know your thoughts on all my comments? Do you think the changes that I've suggested would help the Droideka or make them worse? Do you guys like the current state that they're in, or do you think they could have some improvements? Nonetheless, I would love to see some comments down below and some big thumbs up on the video. Anyways, I am going to get out of here. I hope you all enjoyed my little rant. Apologies for the negative video. I don't do it often, so just bear through this one, and we're just going to have to roll with it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one, and may the force be with you always.